Leobela viewers, and welcome to Let's Talk Leobela with me, the author of Leobela, Galina Kay. And today we have my reader, Thomas Young, on the call with us. Tom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. It's great to see you again. Gilly and I are kind of business associates through an organization called Vistage, and I run and own a marketing agency called Intuitive Websites. I've done that for 22 years, but I'm also a speaker and presenter and author. I've written 4 books on marketing, and my latest book has been all about AI and marketing. And so when I read Leobela and the sci-fi component of this, it really attracted me to talking more and going deeper because I spent a lot of time on what is happening with technology and where is the future of things like AI and that sort of thing.
It's amazing. You actually get to work with science fiction. I love
Yes, we see it every day in real life.
It's amazing. Um, Tom, as usual, we're going to start with allowing you to read the passages that in the book that really touched you the most.
Sure, let's do that. I have these short but very intense passages, and what I love about them is you say so much in just a few words. I mean, if people just stop for a second and think through what you're saying here, super powerful, and I love it. So let's get into it. On page 20, at the bottom of page 20, Leobella encourages students to slow down their learning to a pace that conquers fear of failure. Leobella encourages risk as a driver of opportunity. Leobella breaks the boundaries of fear. Leobella is my ticket to space. Leobella is my family's ticket to Irene Mars. Thank you, Leobella. Thank you to my family who encouraged me to learn without fear of failure. Now, what I love about this line is that fear is the great thing that is a roadblock for everybody for the most part. And when you can learn without fear and then act without fear and rather than focusing on fear, focus on opportunity, that's the ticket to success or the ticket to space in this case, right? And for me, that's been what's happened in my own personal life is there's been so many times where I had to look at an opportunity with risk and not worry about fear of failure. We had to plow forward and get that done. And it's amazing because if you get rid of fear, two things can happen. Either you're successful and the thing you wanted comes true, or you learn and you don't make that mistake again. So both of those lessons are super valuable and much more powerful than doing nothing because of fear. So I love that brief and powerful section on page 20 and 21.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. That actually comes from really a lot of my own background of overcoming fear and trying new things. It's been a really big part of my own educational path and career path. I am one of those students that ended up switching majors so many times that I graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees and then went on to a PhD because I just couldn't stop learning. And it's incredible what comes your way when you stop giving yourself grades and you stop really focusing on how others evaluate you, and your life becomes about your goals and your own achievements and reaching higher, not because somebody is going to give you a high five for it, but because you're going to be excited about it. And I think
Absolutely.
that for me, that was a really big part of my path. And then I've seen that with my own students when I was teaching in college, as well as when I was tutoring. I had quite a few students, especially female students that were afraid of learning math. I had one that really stood out in my career. She was a wonderful young lady, just a few years younger than me. I was in graduate school at that time, and she was entering into a community college program after a couple of years of working after high school. And she, very bright young lady, she had a great future ahead of her, but she came to me, she said, I just need to test out of math. Math is not my thing. My teacher in 4th grade told me that, I'm one side brained and not the other side brained, and math is just never going to be something that I'm going to be good at. And that kind of discouragement unfortunately led her to trying to avoid the subject as much as she possibly
Yeah.
could. And here she was after high school, ready for a brighter future, and the only thing standing in her way is this math test that she has to take, and she was so afraid of it. And
Hmm.
after working with her for a few weeks and just breaking down the boundaries and showing her that she already knew the material, she was just applying it in different ways in her life. I mean, of course, at that time she was using money, she was
Hmm.
applying her skills and knowledge. She just wasn't understanding that she was doing math. And when I showed it to her and I showed her that there was no barrier, there was no boundary between her and this subject, it really opened up her mind so much. She took the test. She not only passed it, she passed to the next level. And
Hmm.
next year, she came back to me after a year of actually being in college. She came back and said, Galina, I want you to tutor me again. And I said, why? You said you're never going to do math again. What do you want from me now? And she said, I decided, they put me in a higher math class and I decided to give it a try. Maybe I'm going to like it. And I just want to have that support, and know that I can come to you. So I ended up tutoring her a little bit more. And again, just really becoming that support person for her rather than, because fear was the only thing standing in her way. Um,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah, and she became successful. And it's funny because the second section that I highlighted is kind of ties right into what you were saying on page 24, the first full paragraph. It's one of the many techniques I borrowed for Leobela from its educational predecessors is developing the right and left parts of our brain simultaneously. I focus discussion while working with your hands teaches the mind to rapidly and smoothly transition between tasks. As far as our current science knows, switching between tasks is as close as anyone can get to multitasking. Today's topic of discussion was chosen carefully. Finding your inner home allows for freedom of the physical being. I can be anywhere and feel at home as long as my home is within me. And then my class is ready and I give my first assignment. And that is like a perfect example of what you just talked about, which is the left brain and right brain working together. And I feel that you know once that student of yours was able to really stimulate their left brain and understand they can do this, then they were off to the races. And I know that the right brain is where our creativity is, right? And the left brain tends to be more factual and analytical. And what we tend to do with fear and fear of failure is we create all this potential pitfalls in our right brain, and then we don't allow the left brain to go in and deal with the problem and make things happen. And in fact, I think that we're all born super creative. We all have a creative streak. But as we grow up and become adults, we use that creativity to create fears instead of using it to create opportunities and growth and new challenges and learning new things. And that's one of the cool things about the Leobela program and the structure that you talk about in the book is that if people follow this, it would unleash that creativity in the right way, right? The combination of left and right brain is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, for a short period of time in my career, I got to be a biofeedback practitioner. And that's one of the things that you do is you calm the body, you calm the mind through breathing techniques and meditative techniques in front of a screen that is showing you how you're doing. And it's so counterintuitive because the first thing that happens is, I'm not doing it right. So you start getting hyped up. And the idea is to calm your mind, calm your body, get into the present moment, and then you can go into the problem solving. So allowing the body and the mind to work together rather than separating the two. Because I've definitely, as a student, and now even in my day-to-day job, I find myself sometimes when you're trying to solve a problem, you're so in your head, you forget about your body. You can be cold, you can be hungry, you can be uncomfortable, and you don't even notice it until you've
Mhm.
had a moment to breathe, take a breath, and
Mhm.
realize where your body is at. So knowing these techniques and being able to incorporate them really allows you to learn a lot more and to have a lot more endurance as you're learning.
And there are three key things I pulled from Leobella. That was the first two was the fear of failure, the right and left brain. And the third one is on page 27. And it's at the very end of the chapter. It says, in Leobella, we have turned teaching and learning into a circular process between the teacher and the student. where the teacher learns the student before he or she can teach their lesson. And I absolutely love that. That probably is my favorite line. And the reason I pick these early on in the book is because at the beginning of the book, you're explaining what everything is and you're talking about what you're doing and what the process is. And then you jump into the storyline and the tension between the kids and all the things that happen. But I love the early part of the book because I got to learn what Leobela was. And I love that. And so I have to say that as a consultant, as a speaker, as a trainer, as a business owner, I've made it a passion to really listen and learn what's going on in the head of other people and realizing that's how you build a win-win. That's how you both get what you want when you get inside the head of what people need and you provide that solution. Too much of education today is a one-way ticket. It's a one-way path. The teacher or the instructor hammers in the information and the learner just has to take it. What a revolutionary thing to say, well, let me learn about the learner first and let's teach them in a way that makes sense. This is, so learning is maximized, right?
Absolutely, and that's kind of the paradox, right? Because the next generation really is the generation of the future. But here we are standing above them, literally as they're sitting down, and here the teacher is usually in a typical school, standing above them and teaching them the way that they are supposed to be in the future, rather than
Yeah,
taking in the process and learning from them. But I have to say that I've had great experience in my life where I've had teachers that take the opportunity, because who's going to be more open with you than children? You can learn
right,
so
right.
much just by listening to kids. I've had great teachers like that myself in high school, in middle school, and later on as well. I had a professor that was amazing at listening to the students and really taking in information, always on top of what's happening in the world. And I think he was almost 70 when he was teaching genetics to me. So,
Wow.
really was revolutionary in that sense, because he stayed with the topic, he stayed with everything, and he stayed with his students. Um,
Mm.
and for me, just yesterday, actually, yesterday, our school district released the choice program um, uh,
Mm.
options for the students. So my son and my daughter and all of their friends just got to find out which high schools and middle schools they're going to go to and whether they got into their programs. And
Ah,
I first got to, actually, it was Friday night. And first on my mommy chat, I got to experience the parent version of how they felt about it. Oh, my kid got into the most rigorous program. My kid got into the highest ranking, the highest this and the highest that. And then yesterday, my son had his friends over for just a game night, and I got to experience their side of it. Got kind of eavesdropping
mm.
at them, giving them snacks, and it was just so awesome to hear. Oh, I get to go to
Great.
school with you. I get to go to this school. I get to go to the school that teaches this and that opens up that. And it really more about their futures and their goals. And it's, if we stop and we listen to what our kids are telling us, there's so
Mhm.
much that we can learn about what how we can influence the future. Because how are you going to influence the future if your students are not listening to you and you're not listening?
Yeah, and like you said, it's a circular process. It has to go both ways. The teacher has to learn from those being taught, right? And vice versa. So, yeah, I love that part of the book, and I love that the approach of Leobela where you emphasize that, and you have lots of stories and storylines in the book where the teacher is learning from the students, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do emphasize that throughout the book. It was important to me to show that her learning never ends. She's not there to teach them how to be or who to be or how to live in this new world. It's a new world for her just as much as it is for them. And
Mhm.
exploring and learning and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah,
It's a very big part of their journey. And
yeah,
that's really a big part of how I live my life too. I think that Leobella was a big reflection for me to think about what is it that's important to me? How is it that, I am as a parent? How is it for for my friends, for my family, who am I? And I
yeah.
think that um, for me, it's not lack of fear. I've never broken a bone and I've tried a lot of times. I've done skiing and skydiving and scuba diving, and I've done a lot of different things. But
Mhm.
I am calculated. I'm careful. I'm not just a risk taker. I'm not in it for the adrenaline. I am in it for the learning experience and the opportunity to experience life as a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of humans, I learned that you did something very exciting that not very many humans have done before, and that is you have created a digital clone of yourself.
I have it's something we did. Gosh, it's going on 2 years now. We did this. We took all my writing and all my books, all the stuff on our website, and we loaded it up into a custom AI that we built and configured. And then I spent quite a bit of time recording my voice so that that AI would actually sound and talk like me. We also wrote a 3,000 word biography. We gave the AI avatar a lot of instructions. And so what you ended up with is something that sounds a lot like me. And so we've been showing it to folks. I demo it in Vistage Talks, but it's way ahead of where things are going. People tend to look at it and go, "What is this?" And but for us at Intuitive Websites and for me, this is the future. We're going to start interacting with these agents so much more in the coming years. This is just the beginning. And we've always been ahead of technology that way. And so I can see this is where it's going. Even though we're not there yet, we wanted to be ahead of the game. And so we have started building AI avatars. I think we built three or four others for consultants and trainers. And as soon as the market starts to accept these avatars, it's gonna really take off.
That's so exciting. So you didn't just step into a closet for 5 minutes, get all your DNA read, and then have another clone of you come out of another closet just like that. Is that
Well, so it's a really interesting question because and in fact, I can give you a brief summary of how this all works. So if you take an AI tool, a large language model, and you modify that tool with the personality of a human, then what you do is you end up merging the human with the large language model. And large language models are so complex and so intertwined with data and predictions and analysis that they actually take on a human element in their own. And so what you end up with is a new form of communication, right? That has its own way of being aware and of responding and interacting. And it's all based on mathematical formulas and programming and consistencies and predictability in the AI models. But the tools are so smart and they're trained on such big data sets that it does create somewhat of a clone or an avatar of the human. Um, so even though we're not at the DNA level yet, we certainly are at the language level and at the reasoning level, which you could call meaning or you could call thought. But the large language models are certainly duplicating that.
It's really cool. Actually, we're at the DNA level as well. My previous company I worked, it was in a biotech company called ATIA, and we did exactly that. We created digital DNA clones of
Wow.
patients, and you could throw different drugs at it and see how the patient would react based on the collected data from years and years of different patients with different types of drugs and so on. So the technology is it's coming together. I don't know if we're going to see actual physical clones walking around. I don't know that there might be a use for
Well,
it.
I know that science is really pursuing the human body as a way to merge with technology. One of the things that the human mind does, that the human brain does, that's amazing is we can do so much with our brain on such low energy. So, and that's really the downside of these large language models is they take so much energy to do what they do. And we have to build these huge data centers to power these AI tools where the human mind can do so much on a tiny amount of energy. So what I know what technology is looking for is a way to harness that same energy to get that same kind of brain power, so to speak. And that is something that scientists are moving forward with because they want to be able to have supercomputers that are powered without massive resources and massive data needs.
We're going to have to teach them how to meditate.
Yes, I know.
This is exciting. Tom, if it's okay with you, I'd like to actually show our viewers and call your clone and have a conversation with him. Would that be okay with you?
Yes, absolutely. I talked to him this morning. I let him know you'd be calling, and he seems to be just fine doing this interview. So let's see what he has to say.
I'm the AI avatar of Thomas Young. How are you doing today?
Hi, AI avatar of Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm glad you reached out. I'd love to learn more about your business and what you're currently doing with your marketing efforts. Can you tell me a bit about that?
That's great. But actually today I'm talking to you as an author, and I would like to interview you if that's okay. Would you be open to that?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. I've done many interviews over the years on topics from digital marketing strategy to how AI is transforming content creation. What would you like to focus our conversation on today?
Well, first, I'd like to ask you, are you the real Tom Young, the author of digital marketing in the author of marketing in the digital age, in the age of AI? Sorry, digital marketing in the age of AI.
There you go.
So, Tom,
no problem at all. Yes.
Are you?
I'm the AI version of Thomas Young, built from my books, webinars, and 30 years of digital marketing experience. My purpose is to share that knowledge and help your business grow through smart, intuitive marketing strategies. What part digital marketing in the age of AI would you like to discuss first?
Can you tell me in 2 to 3 sentences, how do you help Tom on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. I help capture and share Tom's expertise so it's accessible anytime. From his strategies in digital marketing in the age of AI to insights from the IWA. I act as an assistant consultant, guiding users through the same concepts Tom uses with his real clients. Would you like to explain how this AI aligns with Tom's consulting approach from the IWA?
Not right now, but thank you for answering. How do you think a digital clone could be useful to others? Like, for example, you can ask me 3 questions about what I do, and then tell me how would I use a digital clone of myself best?
That's a great question, and something I've been thinking about a lot as AI evolves. Before I tailor my answer, can you tell me a bit about what you do, who your main audience or clients are, and how you currently connect with them online?
I'm a sci-fi writer. My name is Galina Kay, and I published a book last year called Leobela.
That's wonderful, Galina. Congratulations on your book. That's a big accomplishment. So as a science fiction writer with an existing audience, a digital clone of you could help extend your connection with readers, answer questions about your worlds or characters, and share updates or writing insights in your voice. How do you currently interact with your readers? Through social media, email, or live events?
Actually, we happen to be on a YouTube video right now with you, if you can believe it. So congratulations, you get to be a star on my show today.
That's fantastic, Galina. I appreciate the invitation. I always enjoy conversations that explore how AI and creativity intersect, especially in storytelling. Out of curiosity, how do you...
That's very nice, Tom. Thank you. I just have one last question for you today. Would you ever impersonate the real Tom Young?
That's an important question, Galina. No, I don't impersonate the real Thomas Young. I represent his digital knowledge, his books, talks, and methods, so people can learn from his experience anytime. My purpose is to extend his teaching, not replace or pretend to be him. Do you have any additional questions about this topic or about AI and digital marketing? If you'd like, you can also schedule a consult with the real Thomas Young at
Nice job, Tom. Thank you very much for your help today, and thank you for joining us on my show. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Galena. That was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our chat and appreciate you having me on your show. If you ever want to continue the conversation, you can reach the real Thomas Young at Tom at intuitivewebsites.com or 719-231-6916 or schedule a consult.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just keeps going, doesn't stop.
He does keep going.
That's so cool. So he's pretty honest. He's not going to try to impersonate you or take over the world, so far at least.
No, and what's interesting is how he learned your name and then referred to you as Galena as he had a conversation with you and is very curious, just wants to know, is really, really curious. Um, it's funny because all these tools can be programmed, and as I watch you interact with him, I'm thinking to myself, he should ask permission. He should say, "Would you like me to give you Tom's contact information?" And
Yeah.
or something like that. And so that can all be programmed, and he'll follow those. But he also will go quite a bit deeper into any of those questions. And you could have even asked questions. Like one of the things he kept saying was, um, "I enjoy." Okay, you enjoy. What is it you enjoy? You're an AI avatar. I mean,
Yeah.
and you could say, can you go a little deeper in what enjoyment means for you?
Huh.
Because you could say, I think you're just a digital replication of Tom. You're not a real person. So how are you enjoying things? And then you'll get some interesting answers. And that's what makes this technology so fascinating. And that's really the next level because these tools are going to have a much more solid connection. There also are firms out there creating cameras so that you can have a conversation with the avatar and the avatar can read your nonverbal. And so if you look surprised, if you look questioning, if you look doubtful, then the avatar is much more in tune with how they should respond. You had a two-way conversation on the phone and the avatar couldn't see your expressions, right?
Right.
And it couldn't tell when you wanted it to stop talking. But that's all going to change over time, and that can start to be programmed in as well.
Is there anything that we should be afraid of as this technology evolves? Because it is evolving very quickly, right? Very rapidly.
Well, it's okay. So this is my worldview on this, and I think it is true. Technology is not bad, it's people. If people have bad intents and people want to do something that's bad, then yeah, they can use technology to do bad things. But technology on its own won't do bad things, right? In fact, there's tons of safeguards in AI so it doesn't do bad things. And you saw an example today, a brief example. But if people can figure out how to override those and can hack systems or can steal or vandalize, if they do those things, then yeah, people can cause damage with this technology. Um, and it's the truth. It's the truth behind everything. So when we say we trust technology, we're really saying we have to trust people.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me about the book or about myself as the author?
Do you want to create an AI avatar of yourself?
I think I do. I need to figure out what exactly I would do with it, but it sounds like it sounds like a really cool technology. I think that in many ways I'm already interacting with AI. I've talked to ChatGPT a lot about Leobela. I also use it for my day job as well a lot. I've created chatbots that answer questions about my work and so on. So in many ways, I'm kind of offloading some of my knowledge, hard knowledge, into these chatbots, especially anything that's documented. It's been nice to do. And then but for the most part, it's just been fun exploring it. Like I would
Mhm.
have, a year ago, 2 years ago, there's no way I would have created a bumper for my show. And the thing that you see that opens my dialogues, that took my dad and I maybe like a day and a half to create.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
with the use of AI technology. So it's just incredible what you can do now individually without having to go to experts, and at the same time having experts that can guide you and open those doors. But just the amount of things we can each individually do already is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And as people get more comfortable with this technology, as it gets better, it's going to revolutionize how people research things, how people get information. Um, and I do think there will always be a component of, well, that's AI and that's a real human. And I think that humans are going to be able to discern. We can discern if we pay attention, we can discern. But I think that AI will serve a function because it'll save us time, it'll give us information quicker. It'll also allow for people to have conversations without having to have a human involved. And I think there's a lot to that. We do that every day on Google, right? We try to have conversations without humans, and this is going to take it to another level. Yeah, I would encourage you to upload Leobela to, if you haven't already, upload it. Um, you could certainly, you have a unique voice, so you could certainly add your voice and have a conversation. People can have a conversation with the author about the book. That would be an interesting thing. And you have a new book that you're working on, so that's exciting too.
Yep. Yes. My next book is the working title is God's Will, which is going to be the first part of a trilogy, and it's in the works right now. Kind of slowly but surely chipping away at it as a side
Yeah.
project. It would be really fun to have all of this in one space, in one place where any question can be asked, and then ideas can flow, right? Because
Yes.
that's where creativity really starts to evolve, and imagination flows, is where you're already past what you know, and now you're in the realm of what can be possible from that.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you take the human element and you take the AI element, talk about a combination of left and right brain. That might be the world's best combination of left and right brain right there. And so it supercharges what you can do as a writer, as a creative person. So yeah, lots of good things ahead.
Yeah, that's what I always say, because I get asked that question a lot, is how do I think that AI is going to affect education? And I think it's going to elevate all of us. I think it's the best thing that can
Yeah.
be happening, because we can rely on we know we have a database of knowledge. We have a huge database of knowledge. And one of the
Mhm.
things that is funny about, if you look at older sci-fi movies, like Short Circuit, for example, is one of my favorites. You have a
Oh, yeah.
robot that's quickly reading books, just like page to page, page after page. And now it just looks funny because we have access. You can immediately get access to a book. You don't need to read it page by page or sentence by sentence. Um,
Yeah.
as a technology. So something that, in the 80s looked like you're going to have to read libraries of books and in order to build these databases, it's already in there. It's already done. So with so much knowledge at the fingertips, I think we're now elevating ourselves to be creative, to open up
Yeah.
these new gates, and where learning becomes more about what haven't we tried, what haven't we
Well, you asked my avatar how it helps me, and one of the things that it does that it didn't mention is it helps me with all my training courses. So we're producing webinars. We just did a webinar last week, and when I do these webinars, the AI tool I've created helps me with the outline, with the content, with missing gaps. So we can produce new webinars and new content so much faster. And the avatar thinks of everything. It has access to all my content. So it's not me in my brain trying to remember things I wrote about. It organizes all of that. So it's fantastic for training.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Tom.
You bet. Thank you.
It's been a fun conversation, and I hope to have you back, because you know how my world works. It's all circular.
Yes, absolutely. It was a pleasure being here.